Subscribe now, because this story ends with a twist you'll never see coming. They thought they could erase me on an ordinary Tuesday. No grand announcement, no confrontation in front of my peers. Just a sterile email, timed perfectly at the end of the day, when most people had already logged off. My access was revoked, my projects reassigned, my name quietly deleted from the system I had created from nothing. I stared at the glowing screen for a long time, not with panic, but with clarity, because betrayal doesn't arrive with thunder. It doesn't shout. It doesn't slam doors. Betrayal comes quietly, like a whisper, like a knife slipped between the ribs while you're too distracted to see the blade. For years, I had been their foundation. I built the systems that carried their empire on its back. Databases, contracts, encrypted archives, processes invisible to the world but essential to every transaction, every signature, every deal. And every single one of them bore my fingerprints. But leadership never cared about the foundations. Foundations don't win applause from investors. Foundations don't make headlines. They wanted shiny slides, flashy words, shortcuts. I had warned them. I told them cracks were forming, that the system could only bend so far before it broke. But warnings don't get you promotions. Obedience does. So they ignored me. They mocked me. They called me old-fashioned, paranoid, stuck in the past. Then came the new director. Young, sharp suit, a smile polished like glass, but with eyes that never stopped circling the room, weighing everyone, measuring what could be taken. She looked at me the way a vulture looks at a carcass. "Old guard," she called me. She said it in meetings, casually, as if the phrase didn't sting. She dismissed the long nights, the years of sacrifice, the invisible sweat woven into every line of code. To her, I was nothing but a relic. She thought I was replaceable. That's the word she used. Replaceable. But what she never understood was that my work wasn't just code. It wasn't just systems. It was alive. A structure with layers upon layers, invisible to anyone but me. I had built safeguards, clauses, triggers, contingencies. And within those layers, I had buried something she would never see coming. The truth. Every oversight they forced me to ignore. Every corner they demanded I cut. Every compromise written into contracts. I documented them, encrypted them, hid them in places no one even knew existed. So when they erased my name, when they believed they were taking my work away from me, they didn't inherit a legacy. They inherited a trap. At first, it was subtle. A small crack here, a flicker there. Numbers not aligning. Delays too minor to notice. A document missing from an archive. A strange delay in payments. Nothing catastrophic. Nothing that screamed sabotage. Just enough to plant doubt, to gnaw at confidence. The director brushed it off. She barked at interns, mocked engineers, accused teams of sloppiness. But the system was listening, waiting, patient. And the deeper they dug, the more tangled they became in threads they couldn't understand. Then the real fractures began. Auditors demanded records that didn't exist. Contracts pointed back to my signature, my patents, clauses that explicitly required my oversight. Clients began calling, furious about promises broken. Numbers spiraled out of control. Meetings turned frantic. Overnight, the empire that once bragged of stability began to shake. And all the while, I remained silent. I didn't need to act. I didn't need to lift a hand. They had already pressed the detonator when they signed the memo that erased my name. The collapse was theirs, not mine. By the end of the week, investors pulled out. Millions vanished in hours. Panic spread like wildfire through their pristine glass offices. The director's smile cracked. Her voice, once sharp, now trembled as she demanded answers no one could give her. Every file they opened was missing something. Every safeguard required my approval, and I was no longer there. They called me then. At first, polite, offers of money, titles, apologies wrapped in corporate language. Then, desperate, midnight meetings, executives begging me to return. I ignored them. Why should I fix the house of cards they themselves had destroyed, when I was already building something greater? But she, the director, was different. She came to me in person once, cornering me outside a conference hall. Her face was pale, the arrogance gone, her voice trembling as she whispered, "You destroyed me." I looked at her for a long time, calm, cold, almost pitying. "No," I said softly, "you destroyed yourself. I just built a mirror that showed the world who you really were." Her lips parted, but no words came out. She turned and disappeared in the crowd, a ghost of the person who once mocked me, who once thought she could erase me. People imagine revenge as fire, explosions, screaming matches, broken glass. They don't understand. True revenge is silence, patience. It's watching arrogance collapse under its own weight. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't swing a fist. I simply let the system I had built, the system they thought they owned, reveal itself. Now, when I think back to that Tuesday, I don't feel anger. I don't feel bitterness. I feel freedom. Because betrayal isn't just when someone takes what's yours. Betrayal is when they believe they can erase you, only to learn too late that you were never erasable. And as their empire collapses, as headlines scream fraud, scandal, incompetence, one question echoes through every boardroom, every meeting, every ruined contract. Who let this happen? The answer is simple. They didn't lose a system. They lost me. Subscribe now, because the story isn't over. The ending hasn't even begun. And when it arrives, it will be darker, sharper, and more shocking than anything you can imagine.